Welcome back. You're watching Today. We are approaching the end of our panel discussion on youth as we approach the 28th anniversary of Freedom Day in South Africa. Mighty Jamie, your parting shots, all of these things that we have said, what is your parting shot ahead of Freedom Day?
So I think my parting shot is thinking around some of the great African leaders who have made contributions of note. Thomas Sankara was 33 when he actually came into power. And he was actually one of the leaders in Africa who was able to roll out a series of programs. I think your question around, otherizing the youth is actually central to thinking about what we're talking about. Because as people get older and their children are in private schools and they're worried about university bills and all of these other things, they kind of lose the energy that is required and even the conviction and the belief that certain things are possible. That's why if you look at people who've established great companies, it's normally in late 20s and mid-30s. And what we have is this geriatric government, as you've described. And I think it is critical to think about what are we losing when we sideline people who are willing, talented, still visionary, and actually want to wake up every day to do this work and sleep late. So I think that, for me, is something that we need to think about as my parting shot.
David Mohale, let me bring you in. Your parting shots?
Firstly, I was part of the generation around 2010 that said youth unemployment is a ticking time bomb, and I do think that it has reached the stage of an abiding pandemic. We have got other pandemics we are dealing with, and I do think that youth unemployment and exclusion needs to be treated as an emergency, failing which this country will have a big future. Secondly, I happen to be in the space of higher education, and I do think that it is about time that from primary education up until post-matric education, we need to institutionalize entrepreneurship and make sure that all of us as a nation, we need to have conversations that make sure that the programs that we offer to our young people will respond to the question of youth unemployment. I do think that there are a lot of programs that we continue to offer as educational institutions, and quite frankly, and I'm speaking on my behalf, I do think that some of these programs are not responsive to what we need to be dealing with. So yes, I'm not selling my institution. We have begun to look into relevant interventions, and I honestly think that it is about time that we ensure that we offer responsive programs. Thank you.
Ravi Naidu, your take?
Thanks very much. Well, I think, we've learned a number of lessons since 1994. And I think we need to implement certain common sense things that can really make sure we can deal with the 6 million youth who are unemployed. And I think the one is we really have to improve the quality of education. We spend 440 billion rand a year on education in the government, and it's really low quality. We have to make it much easier for people to employ youth, because that's the most empowering thing, more than youth leagues, is to get a job in the private sector. And I think what we also have to do is look at for whatever programs can help youth get into jobs, such as Youth Employment Service or township economic development legislation that lets you, sort of localize jobs and other training, keeping people in training and so on. We have to just do those in the short term. But in the long term, we must get the long term, there's economic growth and structural changes to absorb unemployed youth.
Dimpho, you have the final word.
Yeah, I think my final remarks is like a call to action for especially government entities like the Department of Women and Youth, like the NYDA. I think the impressive thing about young South Africans is that even though they are excluded, they still try to find really creative and innovative ways to be productive in this economy. Young people are making massive strides as entrepreneurs, and not just, in the businesses that we are accustomed to. Young people are making strides in agriculture, in technology. Just this week, I was having a conversation with a young gentleman who started a food delivery service in Hammanskraal because some of the bigger players are kind of afraid to go into the township markets. And this is operating off an app. He's using electric vehicles. And this is in a country where it is not easy to start, let alone sustain a business, right? Especially in a place like a township. So young people are still finding really creative ways to break through the barriers and do the work in their communities. And I think it's up to then the Department of Women and Youth, entities like the NYDA to support this work and to fund it so that it can scale and create and unlock even more opportunities for young people across the country.
Lady, gentlemen, thank you. I've got to thank you for your time and your insights here on Today. Hopefully, enough people are listening, and we'll start to see some of these great ideas that have been advanced, not only here, but over the years that have been advanced, that have become, as Ravi was saying, some of them have become common sense. We might start seeing those being implemented. And that will do it for today. I'm Thulasizwe Semelane. Take care.